What's up, guys? How are you doing? This is Rob of Rule of Two Review. Welcome back to the channel, and today I want to talk about the possibility of a new Zelda and a new Metroid next year in 2023. So the main reason I wanted to talk about this is because having a brand new Zelda and a brand new Metroid release in the same year is actually incredibly rare, and you might off the top of your head think that that's not true, and that surely it's happened many times in the past, but it actually hasn't. However, I think next year presents a pretty great chance that it might happen. Now, I do want to quickly do something that I pretty much have never done on this channel, and I want to very quickly draw your attention to the last video that I made because it was a very personal passion project video that I've wanted to make for a very long time, and it's a video discussing the Atari Jaguar console, of all video game consoles, the Jaguar, which if you follow me on Twitter, you know I'm a huge fan of, and the history of the console, the Jaguar CD, the Jaguar VR, and then of course what I think are the 15 best games that you can play on that console. It's getting very low views because it's not the kind of content I typically make, and I am okay with that. However, because I'm such a fan of that video and that console, and I did work very hard on it, I figured it couldn't hurt in this first video after I've released it to just mention it to you guys to see if you have any interest in watching it. It would be very cool to see you go and check it out and tell me what you think about that video, because I spent a long time on it and I really am proud of the final product. Now, getting back to the topic at hand, you may want to scream at me that of course it's happened many times in the past. It's even happened recently. But I would draw your attention to the fact that we're talking about new games in these respective series. Last year, Metroid Dread released as a brand new Metroid game, but the only Zelda game we got was Skyward Sword HD, which is just an HD port and a re-release of an older game. And honestly, if we go back to even 2017, we had Metroid Samus Returns, which is a remake of Metroid 2 on the Game Boy, releasing in the same year as Breath of the Wild. So even in 2017, we did have a new Zelda, but we did not have a true new Metroid game. In fact, if my research and if my memory is correct, I think the last time that they might have lined up with a new main entry in both of these series was 2002 with the Wind Waker and Metroid Prime. I really want to say that was the last time that happened. And even if I am missing some sort of crossover release that I'm just not remembering correctly or finding in my quick research, it still ultimately holds true that it is so incredibly rare that we get a new entry in both of these series in the same year that it becomes exciting to think that maybe, and it is a big maybe, I will admit, next year in 2023, we could see that happen. Of course, I'm talking about the already confirmed Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom coming out on May 12th. Holy freaking crap, I cannot wait for that game. And then, yes, Metroid Prime 4. I know it's the elusive white buffalo of video games and of Metroid games, but if you've been following me for any length of time, you know that I am somewhat optimistic that Metroid Prime 4 could get revealed and even possibly released next year in 2023. And of course, I say revealed, and I obviously mean re-revealed, right? Because the game was confirmed in 2017. We never saw anything about it until it was delayed and restarted with Retro Studios in 2019, and it's still been silent. The closest thing we have to anything concrete about this game is just this amazing, beautiful Samus banner art that Retro Studios added to their Twitter page earlier this year, 2022. That's the only thing we've seen. The game is still a mystery. So whenever we finally see a teaser or a trailer, or even if it's just CG stuff, or if it's official concept art, if it's actual gameplay, the next time we see anything from this game that Nintendo shows us, I'm going to consider it a bit of a re-reveal. I think that's a fair thing to say. And I personally think, given the crazy history and everything that's happened around Metroid Prime 4, especially the stuff that we even know publicly about its development and the restart, I feel like Nintendo is going to fall back on their typical plan for revealing and releasing games, where they're going to reveal it maybe early in the year, and only 6 to 8 or so months later have the game ready to release. With everything that has gone kooky behind the scenes with Metroid Prime 4, I think that they want to undo the damage of their initial decision where they just revealed it with a logo, obviously very, very early in development, thinking it was a good way to hype up the brand new Switch at that time. And then, of course, given what happened, they probably, in hindsight, feel like they maybe revealed it too early. I've discussed on a prior video topic that I don't think the game was revealed too early because the drama and the restarting and the changing of studios is kind of a unique situation that you don't plan for. I think the game would have released within 2 to 3 years from its initial reveal if that didn't happen. So it just went through a unique scenario that happened to delay it longer. But if that didn't occur, then I don't think that anyone would feel that 2017 would have been too terribly early to reveal it. So, you know, it's tough to say. That's just my personal read on the situation. And so I think they're going to play it safe with Metroid Prime 4 the time that we finally see it again. And they're going to do exactly what they did with Metroid Dread. To me, that is the template they're going to follow with Metroid Prime 4 after the rocky development so far. They're going to wait until that game is probably 98% completed. They already know the exact date it's going to release. There is 0% chance that that release date will change. And so I think they could reveal it. And again, this is just me theorizing as a Metroid superfan and a Nintendo and a game fan, that maybe in, you know, the first Direct of the year, or maybe even during an E3 Direct if they do that next year. So maybe in the times between like February and June. First half of 2023, they may reveal the game with an official trailer, give us a release date. Maybe that date could be the end of 2023. That's my current target for the release of Metroid Prime 4. It's, you know, October or November-ish for 2023. So basically a year from now. I know it feels crazy because the game has been a mystery for 5 years. So everyone just feels like that game has to always be 5 years away at any given point. But I'll remind you what I've said in the past. That's not how this works, you guys. The real truth of it is that Metroid Prime 4 has been being worked on diligently since 2019. It's actually going to be 4 years since the restart in just a few months in January. And so that's a lot of time to get a game really close to completed, even a complex game like a Metroid Prime game. So I don't think it's impossible that in the first half of 2023, they're finally going to be ready to show us the game, because at the end of 2023, they could release it. And if Metroid Prime 4 releases at the end of 2023, let's say it's November 2023, do you realize that that will be close to 5 years since the time it was announced that they restarted it? It may not sound correct, but think about it. January 2019, they told us that the game was scrapped initially and restarted brand new with Retro Studios. 5 years, the 5-year anniversary of that restart announcement is January 2024. So that means that November 2023, which is my current prediction, is almost at that 5-year anniversary mark. Again, right now in 2022, it just doesn't seem like 5 years is possible. But it truly would be nearly a 5-year development cycle if that's when the game released. So this is all to say, in a very long-winded fashion, as I tend to do here, this is all to say that I don't know that this is what they're going to do. I'm just explaining why I think there's a great chance it could happen, because it might feel like it's too soon to see Metroid Prime 4 release a year from now at the end of 2023. But if you do the math, it actually isn't an impossible development cycle for that game. And so I just think we need to keep our minds open. I'm like 50-50 here that the game could actually release in 2023. And now this brings us back to the conversation around Zelda, because if my random guess that I'm only 50% sure on of Metroid Prime 4 releasing next year happens, that means that we will have a new Metroid and a new Zelda game in the same year, because Zelda Tears of the Kingdom we know is coming out in May of next year, which is so unfathomably exciting. And I know that people are mixed on exactly how they revealed it in this last Nintendo Direct, because there was only like 20 seconds of new gameplay shown. It wasn't a whole lot. It did confirm a few elements about the flying and the jumping and the soaring and all of that stuff through the sky, which I am so unbelievably excited for. And it gave us the release date and the title, so these were significant things, but it still hasn't given us the true meat of the game. Nintendo is still dragging out the biggest reveal of what Tears of the Kingdom is going to be. And so, as I said after that Nintendo Direct, my personal prediction is probably March or April, a month to 2 months before the game will release in May. My prediction is a very significant Tears of the Kingdom focused Nintendo Treehouse. If they release a 1 to 2 hour Treehouse with like anywhere from 2 to 4 or 5 sessions of gameplay, where, you guys know how Treehouses play out. They've got a couple of people. They'll have Eiji Aonuma, they'll have another developer, probably Build, Trend, and Translating, and a couple of Treehouse folks all playing the game and talking about it. And they'll do like 20 to 25 minute gameplay segments with some interviews and some intermissions between. So in an hour to 2 hours, they could get, like I said, 2, 3, 5 different gameplay sessions to really showcase that game, just like they did with Breath of the Wild back in E3 2016. Only instead of spending 3 days on it, they would spend maybe like, 90 minutes. So that's what I'm hoping to see for Tears of the Kingdom next year, and I am kind of expecting it as well. They clearly need to really pull the veil off of this game. It's been a slow drip feed of teases and brief images, while also giving us something significant, the name and the release date. When are we going to see the meat of the game? That's what I'm hoping happens next year. And so why is this all significant? Why am I talking about it this way in this video? Well, one is because these are my 2 favorite video game franchises, and obviously I love finding reasons to combine conversations about both Metroid and Zelda into the same video topic, because I could just ramble on forever about both of these franchises, and it is an exciting time where we have a new main entry in both franchises on the horizon. So it's a very significant time, but also because it could say a lot about what we could expect from Nintendo's business, their games output, what their 2023 is going to look like, and yes, I have to talk about this a little bit, the possibility of new Switch hardware. Having a new Zelda and a new Metroid release in the same year, something that, as I mentioned in the beginning, is extremely rare and very significant if it does happen, is a big deal for gamers and Nintendo fans, and because there's a chance that it could line up with new Switch hardware or new Nintendo hardware, further goes to show that 2023 could end up being a really massive year for Nintendo. Probably their biggest and most important year for their business since releasing the Switch in 2017. You guys know I have been singing the song of the Switch 2 for like over 2 years at this point, right? It was like right before the pandemic started that I was really kind of pinpointing a time period where I thought new Switch hardware would release. A next-gen hardware, right? And I've had to clarify this over the last 2 years as well. That could be a Switch 2, or it could be a Switch Pro upgrade thing that isn't called a Switch 2, but has a significant power jump, powerful enough to play exclusive games, right? That's the important kind of distinction here. And, back in late 2019, early 2020, I was talking about 2022 or 23 being the years that it made sense to see it happen, right? It didn't feel real in 2020. No one believed me or thought it was even worth thinking about, and I understand why. I was only trying to think ahead. I was trying to close my eyes and picture a gaming landscape 2 to 3 years in the future, when the way the Switch fit into the gaming market was going to be different. I mean, I started talking about this before the PS5 and Xbox Series X even launched, you guys. And I never knew if I was going to be right or wrong, and I still don't know if I'm going to be right or wrong. But I think there is such a great chance that Nintendo is going to finally move their hardware a significant step forward in 2023. The release of Tears of the Kingdom is a huge piece of evidence that could prove that true. Could being the optimal word. And if Metroid Prime 4 also releases next year, I just think that's another potential feather in the cap of this argument being true. Now, I don't want to do anything dangerous or crazy at the end of this video here, because I am going to wrap it up. But it is worth noting, I'm going to get myself in trouble by saying this, it is worth noting, we already know Zelda's coming out next year. As I've said in this video, I think there is a somewhat reasonable chance Metroid Prime 4 could also release next year. What if there's also a new Mario game releasing next year? You guys, we are due for a new mainline Mario game, and I know that we've all been thinking it and talking about it for a while. Even going into this last Nintendo Direct a few weeks ago, people were talking about these quote-unquote rumors going around that maybe the next 2D Mario game was being worked on and going to be revealed. That never happened. I don't know if there's any truth to that, but there's been talks about the next Mario game for a while. They are working on it, you guys. And in fact, considering the fact that Odyssey came out in 2017, we just have to know that Nintendo probably has their next Mario game almost complete. And so we could be looking at something even more exciting than Zelda and Metroid releasing in the same year. We might have a new Zelda, a new Metroid, and a new Mario game. Now that is a huge shot in the dark, so, don't run with that too crazy. I'm not running with it, but it's just, I don't know. It's just something I've been thinking about. So like I said, I'm kind of getting myself in trouble by dropping that little random thought at the end of this video, but I thought it was worth doing because you never know, man. 2023 could be Nintendo's best year. Definitely a new Zelda, maybe a new Metroid, maybe a new Mario, maybe a new console. And if all 4 of those things release next year, I'm just going to say 2023 would be their best year in history, which is saying a lot. So anyway, this video was really just a bunch of speculation and rambling from a big Metroid, Zelda, and Nintendo fan. So that's what I think. What do you guys think? Talk about it below. This video is a wrap. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you on another video. Bye-bye.